amidst the pleasant weather that the country has been blessed with, September has suddenly become pleasant. Today, we have another pleasant surprise for you. So, today we are in conversation with a special guest. Before I introduce the guest to you, I'll also tell you very quickly about myself in case you are new to the channel. My name is Karishma Vandwani, and I am a VARC educator for CAT at Unacademy. So I take classes for the verbal ability and reading comprehension section across CAT and the other MBA exams. I am in conversation today with Balaji Ramachandran, a very esteemed guest of ours. He's working as an associate director at Unacademy. He is an IIM Ahmedabad alumnus. So I hope that is giving you a little adrenaline rush for those of you call IIMA as your dream B school. So we're going to talk to him about his experience at IIMA. We're also going to talk to him about his consulting experience at Bain and Company, because like I have spoken to a lot of you, consulting is a really sought after kind of job and domain these days. And he'll tell us lots more. Let's just dive deep into the conversation. Hello, Balaji, a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the session.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Very happy to be here.
I'm so glad. All right. Could you please quickly tell us something about yourself? I know I've given a very brief introduction, but maybe you can throw some light on what you are doing these days and how has your career journey been so far?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Very happy to be here on the channel and speaking to you and to all of our guests. My name is Balaji. I'm a computer science graduate from VIT Vellore and then joined IIM Ahmedabad as a fresher. Um, Interned at Bain and Company and worked there for about 2.5 years. Since then, I've been working in the startup world and most recently Unacademy. Very happy to be here today. At Unacademy, my work is with the chief operating officer Vivek Sinha. I work in his office primarily driving new initiatives, things that we can do to improve the value offering and to improve the brand and presence of Unacademy. So those are primarily my job responsibilities.
All right. And when I was going through your details and your wonderful LinkedIn profile, you've written a lot about your experience in consulting at Bain and Company.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, did you join Bain and Company immediately after your post graduation?
Yes, ma'am. It was my campus placement. Joined
All
the
right.
Mumbai office immediately after place.
All right. So, what made you join a startup like Nursery Live and then a bigger startup like Unacademy after working in a huge colossal MNC like Bain and Company?
Yes, ma'am. I think Bain is an absolutely brilliant organization. One of the best organizations I've ever worked for in my life, and I'm very grateful that I got that opportunity immediately after campus. I think the decision to go beyond, it's very difficult always to leave something that you love. Uh, but I wanted to also, I think around this time is when there was a lot of buzz about making in India, about how leaders should be creating jobs. And I felt like I wanted to, experience and improve myself as a leader. And I felt a startup would give me that opportunity to experience unstructured problems, to go very deep, to roll my sleeves up, and actually solve real problems from by myself. I think that exposure I was able to get in early stage startups, which is why I joined Nursery Life. And also, my family as well as me, we're a huge lover of plants. So I like the vision as well that Nursery Life is helping bring a plant to every home and every office. So that was the reason. With Unacademy, I think you know as well as I do that every day that we work here, the amount of impact that you feel when you get a
Absolutely.
message from a learner who tells you, I cracked this exam and it was because of this educator. That feeling of positivity we get because we are democratizing education. That's something that motivates me every day to come to work, knowing that we are doing something that's meaningful. So that impact and that opportunity was again too good to pass up with somebody who's as esteemed as Vivek Sinha. Vivek is the CEO of the company, and at such a young age, he's achieved so much, and every day working with him is inspiring. So I think that was the reason also to join an academy.
That's great. That's great. It's very uncommon to see, people wanting to get into a huge company and then having the courage to switch to a startup. But
Yeah.
because you're intentions have been noble. I think you've been able to do it, and I'm just so happy to know that you are enjoying the contribution that we can make through the education sector.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, a lot of CAD aspirants are largely engineers.
Yeah.
So you also are a BTech in IT, I think, and then you
Yeah.
switched to, or you decided to do an MBA.
Yeah.
So was it always in your head, or was it a sudden decision? What was the thought process behind being an BTech plus MBA rather than a BBA plus MBA or a BTech plus MTech?
Yes, ma'am. I think when you join, first off, when you leave home for the first time and you join college, the world is just open to you. So I can tell you, in my first year, I thought I'm going to become a scientist. I'm going to do an MTech for sure. In my second year, I thought, no, I'm not going to be a scientist. I want to work for Google. I want to work for Facebook. So I'm going to do an MS and go abroad. I think in my third year, only when I had gotten some understanding of computer science subjects, started realizing, what I liked, what I didn't like. Um, and I felt, computer science is a very promising, it is still a very promising career option for many people. But I also started getting more exposure to management. There were some of my seniors who were going to different B schools, IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, and Calcutta. And I started to hear about their stories, and then I got inspired by that. So that whole decision was not planned at any point of time. I think it happened as it was going on, and I decided to prepare for the GMAT so I could write the apply for the ISB admissions. And around that same time is when, if you're preparing for GMAT, you might as well also prepare for the CAT. So that's how
Mm-hmm.
the whole thing. It didn't happen very planned. It was a accidental journey, but very very fruitful at the ending.
All right. So something that was just meant to be.
I hope so.
All right. Because a lot of I think all of our viewers and audience today are MBA aspirants. A lot of them are
Yeah.
excited to know about how life is at an IIM. And we have a question from Diksha who's asking that he's very interested to know that how is life at an IIM or the corporate world for a visually impaired student? So will it be a great challenge if somebody's struggling with visual impairment or blindness, or will it be, is the world welcoming to
Fair.
such people?
That's a very good question. I've actually mentored a visually impaired student. First off, I don't think this, like, you can never tell the difference,
Absolutely.
because everybody who I've seen in an IM, every one of my batchmates, every one of my juniors, my seniors, each of them brings something special to the table. So I have never felt like this person is visually impaired, this person is not. It's just what they come with. I've seen particular things that our campus has done to make it comfortable depending on whatever challenges you have. Two, three things that come to mind. For visually impaired students in particular, we had a seating arrangement such that they could sit in particular places where they could see the board and the professor without too much strain. Second, if they needed help with scribes, they were always available.
Okay.
Third, exams or quizzes, which are very notorious in IIMs, there was a little bit extra time given to account for this, and so there's always allowances and provisions made. Similarly, when we had a batchmate who broke her leg, there were ramps, for instance, and then her seating was changed so she could sit in the ground part of the classroom. So
Okay.
the campus is very accommodating. You are only limited by your imagination, but any challenges you have, you will always have support.
That's great. That's great. I think, Diksha, that answers your question. And this is also to remind the other people who are listening to us right now, if you might have any questions relevant to the discussion that Sir could answer for you, please write them down in the comment section or in the live chat rather. All right. I would also like to hear from you, Balaji, about what was your experience about consulting like? Because a lot of people want to get into a consulting job, but the honest answer, and I say this as a teacher, that इनको कुछ पता नहीं है कि कंसल्टिंग में होता क्या है और करना क्या होता है और किस तरीके का काम है और what skills are required, am I a fit or a misfit? So maybe you can throw some light on how the job is like.
Got it. Okay. So I heard like multiple questions, ma'am. I'll just go in order.
Huh,
You
yes,
mentioned
yes,
what is consulting like, and then what are the skill sets
absolutely.
required to crack it. So what is consulting like? I can tell you about my experience at Bain. Fundamentally, you have two types of projects. You have short duration projects, which are due diligences, diagnostics, etc. And then you have long duration, which are when you're spending a lot of time and effort with the client to really turn around a particular project. So short duration, long duration. In the
Okay.
short duration, it's a very quick and direct way to solve a business problem. For instance, this company wants to buy this company. How do you decide if you should buy this company or not? So it becomes, can you evaluate the company's fundamentals, its financials? Can you speak to its customers? Can you check whether it is its unit economics and its costs? All of those make sense. Can you see if the market that this company is targeting is big enough? How are the competitors reacting? So all of these become individual modules. Each a consulting team is usually four people plus a manager. Each consultant will pick up one piece, and then we'll try to deliver that in about 2 weeks. So that's the short duration one. It's very direct. It's a lot of information. We speak to multiple people. We look at a lot of data, and then you come back with an answer saying, "This is why I believe it," and you tell that story using data.
Okay.
That's the short duration one. The long duration ones, I think, are the truly exciting pieces. The short duration is always, this company is buying it. You find out a little bit earlier. It's all secret until it actually happens. But the long duration ones are the truly, I think, inspiring pieces because you are taking either a business that's struggling or you're starting a new initiative, like you're going to launch a new division or a new product or go into a new market. So these broader business problems are not just studying something, you also have to go and implement it. So what we do there is, again, it's a 2 3 week understanding of what is happening in the company, in the business, what is needed, and build that plan. Once we build that plan, it actually, the hard part starts, which is convincing those business leaders to agree with our plan and to start following it step by step. So guiding them, figuring out what challenges they faced while implementing this plan, course correcting, and then ultimately delivering that result, which the CEO is extremely happy about because it's usually improving their profit margin. It could be adding new revenue to them. It could be multiple things that the company finds particularly important. So I think those are the two kinds of projects, and that's the work. On a day-to-day basis, as a consultant, you're looking at lots of data. You are
Mm-hmm.
speaking to multiple employees, and it doesn't matter how old you are or how old the client is. It's important that you build that respect, whether the client opposite you is 25 years old or 55 years old. I have worked with clients who have more experience in the industry than I have been alive. But I still have to find a way to convince them that I have understood their problem and I can support them. So that's the real consulting life. You have short term, you have long term. Short term involves studies on particular levels. You're looking at modules, you're trying to solve them in 2 to 3 weeks. Long term involves figuring out a plan and then actually making people follow it.
A lot of trust building goes into it, I'm sure.
Lots. You have to work with people, you have to work with data, you have to present that data in a very compelling manner, and then you have to convince them to do it.
Nice. That's very exciting to hear.
Yeah.
All right. And what do you think that as MBA aspirants, these guys can build in themselves as skills or, something that can make them a fit for such kind of a job?
Fair. So I think the consulting is something that anybody can do because it is an extension of your B school journey. You are, reading a case, understanding it, asking questions. So the skill set is actually something anybody can do. The question is, can you do it efficiently? Can you do it without taking up too much of your time? Because consulting without the right skill set, you will just work all day, all night because there's so much
Hmm.
information. So that efficiency and that effectiveness is the true mark. And I think the skill set that we typically look at is number one, strong academic performance. This is not because academic performance correlates to like high, like you can be like I have seen a rank 1 versus a rank 40 do equally well in consulting. It's not the rank you got, it's the fact that to get that rank in your college you have to put in a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and
Absolutely.
those skills matter. So academic performance is an indicator that you're hardworking, you will put in a lot of effort, and you will find a way to actually get to the solution. So that's skill set one. Skill set two, you look at team building, team playing skills. So if you've played a sport, that means you work with multiple people. Or if you've been in any initiatives, any clubs, in your campus, any startups that you worked at, where you've led teams, that's again a very powerful skill set, because in this job you are your entire worth is your relationships with people and your personality. So can you work well with people, can you influence them, is something we look at, and we can't ask you can you do that. So therefore we look at, did you work in teams, did you play sports, and did you do that well. So that's the second thing that we look at. I think the final thing we look at is also what makes you unique or what makes you exceptional, because this job is very difficult. You're spending so many hours at it, and therefore you're going to be spending 15 hours a day with your colleagues. So you want to work with people who also want to work with you, and that's the third interesting bit. Are you interesting enough that we can have a conversation with you? Because I think at the end of the day, people trust you when they can speak with you, when they can relate with you. So we look at that third thing, which is what makes you unique, what makes you exceptional. And these become your three major skill sets: your academic qualifications, your team building, your leadership qualifications, and finally, what makes you unique. These are the three, and they will always break down into things based on your CV. But if you have these three things, you will have a good career in consulting.
And like you said, I would also just reiterate the fact that so says that communication becomes very important, because if you are unable to, how do you help people, build up a brand? You need
Yeah,
to build trust, and for building that trust, you need to be able to communicate efficiently. So if you are unable to put your ideas across the table, or be a good listener and listen to what the client has to say, uh, that gap never gets bridged. So to be able to bridge the gaps, I think it's very important that you should work on your communication skills as well.
yeah.
All right, that's great. Also, could you throw a little light on, how is your work or maybe general life experience different at a startup, from what it was at such a huge MNC?
Yeah. So I think in consulting, the benefit is there is, I don't know, 40 years of research that's already there and already ready. Therefore, before I start any case, I know that I have resources that are available globally, and I can reach out to somebody, I can have discussions while making my plan. So there is always a lot of research and a lot of support. People can tell you what to do as well in case you go wrong. In a startup, we're all figuring it out, because this
We're
business
all on our
didn't
own.
exist 2 years ago. So it's a very different journey where we are building that research for the first time. In many cases, we will literally do something for the very first time, and then it'll be used for every other category. So I think that's the big difference in like an MNC versus a startup. In an MNC, you have defined processes, you have examples, you have resources to support you. In a startup, you are that resource. You are the person who will be defining it for future people. So it's a very different journey. It's the creator versus the I don't know, the facilitator role. And in startups, you're always creating. It's a very very different pleasure.
Yeah, and a lot of brainstorming and everything goes in.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I think that's a great insight, a great input, because when you're working with a huge company, you might get people who will be available to guide you all there. But when you are
Yeah.
in a startup, a lot of you are on your own. So you'll be
Exactly.
trying out new things. So if you like that kind of challenge, I think it would give you a real boost there.
Absolutely.
All right. And I think the one very important question that a lot of people are seeking an answer to is, because we are just 70 days away from the D-Day CAT,
Yeah.
what is your advice, or what worked for you, especially because you're an engineer and most of the crowd, like I say, comes from an engineering background.
Yeah.
Maybe you could throw some light on CAT preparation.
Absolutely. So my CAT preparation in total was 4.5 months long. I did this immediately after my GMAT. So my GMAT ended in June. So July, August, September, October, and a little bit of November, because November is when the CAT exam was. So 4.5 months was what I had, and I had my college times, which I'm sure most of our aspirants would either have college or they would be in full-time jobs right now. So I had my mornings and afternoons mostly blocked. So what I did was I broke down my syllabus into three things. The first one was understanding all of the concepts. So there was obviously your VARC, then your DILR, and your quantitative aptitude. For them, I wanted to cover the entire syllabus. So I had 160 days approximately. So I wanted to cover the entire syllabus in about 70 days, one time, where I have understood the concept, read the theory, started solving problems on it. So once I did that 70 days first iteration, I then spent another 40 days doing that same thing again,
Okay.
covering the syllabus one more time, because after you do
Revising.
50 chapters of this, you'll forget.
Absolutely.
So I started revising, but I went in like a slightly random order, so
Okay.
I don't remember what the order was the first time.
Okay.
So in that first 100 days, my only focus was syllabus complete karna hai, and I
Okay.
need to have thorough syllabus. The benefit was I realized what are my weak points also. Like for instance, in quantitative, I knew that geometry was not as strong for me as my numeric and other abilities. Similarly, in VIRC, I was sure that there are certain things in reading passages where I don't do as well.
Hmm.
So it also helped me identify weaknesses and say, okay, these things I'm able to do, these things I'm not able to do as much. So that is the first 110 days of the what do you call, of the 160. From 110 to 135 approximately, it was mainly about taking practice tests. I wasn't doing CAT level full length mock tests. I was
Okay.
doing section wise tests.
Okay.
And I would try to solve it. And then after I solve it, whatever mistakes I made, I would go and check those questions one more time. So let's say if I solved 1,000 questions and I got 100 wrong, I would take those 100 separately and then read those 100, understand what the concept was. And that was the third run, that I used to do section wise practice tests and then solve my mistakes.
Okay.
Whenever I reduced that mistake count, well, let's say for instance, instead of 100 mistakes, I got it to 50 mistakes or 25 mistakes. Then I got more confidence that this topic I understand. So that was my next 25, 30 days ish. My last 10, 15 days were purely for full length mock tests. And I already knew what my CAT slot was, which was in the morning. So I would take one test in the morning every day, 15
Okay.
days, like without fail, whether it was a Sunday, whether it was a Wednesday, unless I had a college exam, I would always take it at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And up till, so
Sort
I
of a
think,
dress rehearsal thing.
yeah, so that exact mentality is already set.
Okay.
And then after I did this, I analyze the paper again to see what are the mistakes. And then I would compare, have I improved in geometry or have I did? So let's say, for instance, after two tests, I'm still making multiple mistakes. I would then spend that afternoon reading up about geometry concepts one more time. So that whatever weak points I have not fixed in the last 135, 140 days, I'm doing in the last 10, 15 days.
Okay.
Then one day before the CAT, I did nothing. I had done my preparation.
Perfect.
Was last दिन में I'm not going to move a mountain. I'm not going to overnight become Archimedes of geography. I mean of geometry. So I decided ki that last day will be rest. And then my parents dropped me at the coaching center. So in at the exam center, and then we wrote the exam.
All right. And which year was this? When did you take CAT?
This was 2014, 2015.
All right, nice. Great.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, you've pretty much said everything, and I don't need to add on anything, but I'll just quickly compile it up in points for our students. So mocks are important, sectional tests are important. You need to have a proper timetable. So if you have a proper timetable, you could crack the exam in as less as 4 months, like he says. And you got to work on your weak points. You need to analyze your performance. Where are you going wrong? And then finally, something that I always say, but students don't agree with, is last दिन पे कुछ नहीं होगा. So you can't do anything overnight. No charisma is going to happen. So you have to make sure that you are well prepared in advance, because this is not school or college where you will quickly cram a chapter and then vomit it out. All right. So this is aptitude. You develop through practice, and then you can rest on the 27th of November completely, and then go break a leg on 28th. All right,
Exactly.
that's great. I think it has been very interesting. I think we can bind this discussion up by a few words of advice from you for all our young aspirants.
Absolutely, ma'am. I think to all the aspirants who are writing the CAT for the first time or for their second, third time, the CAT is not a standardized exam. So the first thing you need to do is just respect the exam and respect the exam takers. Every IIM sets it differently. Uh, so it's not an indication about you or your ability. That's the first thing I want to tell you. If you crack it, fantastic. But if you don't, you will do it the next year, or there are multiple other things. Don't take too much stress about the exam. That being said, let's cracking the cat is a straightforward thing. You can do multiple things to prepare yourself, and then that last day there's 5% to luck or to God. That is not in our control, but that 95% we should always be trying to do our best. And for me, that is preparation. If you really want it, you know what the rewards are at the end of it. You will find ways after your job is done, after your college day is done, to spend those 2 3 hours every day without fail, attending classes, reading the concepts, reading notes, taking sectional tests, and then finally doing all the full length mocks, etc. That 95% is in our control. We should always focus on that. The third thing is that exam is, it's not just a preparation thing. There's also a mental element to it, that you have to be calm during that test, because in the last 3 4 months you have definitely prepared every kind of question. So it's not that any question there will actually be new to you. You just have to take a few deep breaths in case you get stressed. And I felt that personally during my CAT exam as well. When I noticed there were 3 geometry questions, I got slightly scared, saying, "Oh my God, is it going to become very difficult?" But then I just realized, okay, I can come back to these questions. So I went ahead. And then when I look at it again, it actually doesn't seem that difficult. So don't panic during the exam. Your preparation is good and you will figure it out. I think those are my 3 things: that don't worry too much about
Wonderful.
it. It's a larger exam. 95% is in your control. Make sure that there's 100, like, you're doing your absolute best over there. And during the exam, don't panic. You would have definitely prepared that question somewhere. Just give it a little bit of time, it'll come to
Beautiful. So I think all of you have heard it right from the horse's mouth now. So maybe you guys haven't been listening to me, but you will listen to him, I'm sure.
you.
Alright. Okay, so before we wind up, I would quickly like to tell my viewers that Unacademy has already begun with CAT 2022 batches. You could explore our channels like Unacademy Catalyst and see for yourself the kind of quality that is being delivered. I do not think you get so many free demos with any other brand. So just come to the free classes, special classes, YouTube sessions, and see for yourself the level of the quality that is being offered. uh, there is a lot of discount stuff also going on, so the plans are really great, and it's always a great idea to begin in advance, especially if you are a non-reader or if your concepts are not strong. So this is an ideal time to begin your preparation. In case you are looking for discounts, you could use my code Karishma Live, KARISHMALIVE, also to get yourself an additional discount. Do check out the prices and the details of everything on our YouTube channel, Unacademy Catalyst, or MBA Insider, or the Unacademy website. I think this was a very, very beautiful and enriching, enlightening session with you, Balaji. It has been an honor to host you today. I wish you all the luck, and we hope to grow together with the students. Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am. And wish every CAT aspirant of 21 and 22 the very best of luck.
Absolutely. Let's crack it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.